If you are a managed service provider, you have probably seen the writing on the wall already. Java licensing is getting more complex. Security expectations are rising, and your clients want more proactive support than before. In this episode of Java Reloaded, I am joined by Simon Taylor, Senior Vice President of Worldwide Partners and Alliance at Azul, to talk about Azul's new Managed Service Provider program, which is built on the Azul Intelligence Cloud. We will dig into how it helps partners simplify Java licensing, improve developer efficiency, and deliver security insights, all while staying white label and revenue friendly. Let's jump in. Let's start with the big picture. What gap do you see in the market that Azul's new managed service provider program is trying to address? And how does it uniquely support partners compared to other offerings?
So, what's sort of interesting is that over a number of years, well, obviously we've been selling alternative licensing to Oracle. A lot of customers in this space typically go to our partners first before they come to us, and that's because they want independent advice. They want to be understand their licensing constraints or their obligations and compliance, and really approach that from a perspective of looking at the right alternatives. So during that period of time, we found that the tool sets that people have been using in that area are somewhat limiting. They only focus on what's installed, right? They don't focus on what's actually being used. Conversely, we have a solution that is Intelligence Cloud that does exactly that. It creates a live Java inventory. It does a whole bunch of things I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. But in that context, it's less about the customer just wanting to use our product by itself. It's more about it's adding value to the service that a partner is delivering. So in essence, the whole managed service provider program was born from the fact that partners have been coming to us for some time saying, can you help us get to a better understanding of actual Java use, and therefore the obligations and complexities that relate to how they need to advise their customers. And this is way beyond the other tool sets, whether it's ServiceNow or it's Flexera or even manual scripting that they've been using in the past. So that's a component of Intelligence Cloud that we call JVMI, which is a Java inventory capability.
We have covered Azul's Intelligence Cloud in the past, but let's focus specifically on how it helps MSPs and their customers in navigating the increasingly complex Oracle landscape, especially when it comes to licensing and compliance.
So one of the things that, again, if we go back over the last couple of years of certainly the aggressive stance that maybe Oracle's had in terms of the way they've been auditing customers and looking at their customer license use, particularly trying to move them from an infrastructure to an employee-based licensing model. One of the things that's come out of that is needing to understand actually what is being used, right? I sort of referred to this a minute ago, but it's changed. Customers now are, instead of just making knee-jerk reactions, I don't want to pay for this renewal, or I want to find alternatives, or I'm under audit pressure from Oracle, or they are harassing me on a sales call. What we've been finding is that customers are a little bit more considered now, and they're looking for expert type of services to find exactly where their Java is installed and being used. So that's where we help, because we built this technology Intelligence Cloud 3 years ago, really, and it's only really now that it's actually coming to fruition in terms of its real value, because it does something very different. It doesn't look at what's installed. It actually looks at what people are using. So, and it looks across all of the distributions. It's not just Azul based. It looks at, Oracle. It looks at Red Hat. It looks at Pareto. It looks at IBM. It looks at Microsoft. It can really truly analyze Java use and come up very quickly within a short period of time, an exact perspective on what really people are looking to maybe consider licensing. So with that context and then wrapping around services, it's hugely valuable for partners to be able to deliver and interpret those results. I'm sure we'll come on to it in a minute, but that's really the key to this swap, which is if a customer was using Intelligence Cloud directly, they'd have to have a whole internal team to figure out how to interpret the results. Partners are already doing that. They just want the tool sets to get to create greater intelligence, and that's exactly what we're providing them.
There are already so many observability and security platforms out there. You mentioned it's about installed versus used, But can you also talk about what's the key differentiator that makes Azul Intelligence Cloud purpose built for Java workloads?
Well, that's sort of interesting as well, because once you're collecting actual usage information on from Java, it's actually from the Java virtual machine itself. So you're actually understanding how long something's running. You're understanding when it runs. You're understanding to what level of complexity and the different code elements are actually used in that Java application. So given all that data that's really anonymized and coming into a sort of like an analytics and platform, you can now get a lot more different insights. Not only, okay, what do I need to license? But you can start to understand, okay, how long did that application run for? When did it run? And are there any performance issues? Is it in a traditional data center, and knowing that if actually I moved it and modernized it slightly, I might get some performance improvement. There are all sorts of derivative type of understandings you get from that type of analysis. But the big one is security, because in collecting Java usage information from actual JVMs that are running, and then also, what code is actually being loaded at that time, you can start to then compare that with CVEs. So instead of having massive amounts of signal traffic, which is typically what happens in application vulnerability scanning products, we are now, with a laser focus, we know specifically where something has been unpatched, something has high security vulnerability in a critical application. All of that stuff, an analysis is available for partners to interpret and deliver, let's say, security posture reports or a whole bunch of different things. So there's a lot of scope. I mean, we do have partners right now interested in integrating vulnerability detection on top of intelligence cloud in a managed service security operation as well. So because it's sort of very tangential.
I would love to dig a bit deeper into vulnerability detection. How can it help MSPs, organizations, cut through the noise, eliminate false positives, and improve the signal to noise ratio for security teams?
So again, just go back. It's better to restate what happens in general application vulnerability technology, right? So the scanning products, they look and scan for everything. So you might get millions of pieces of information, a bit like you get from security scanning products on routers or firewalls and things. It's a lot of noise. So that's why all of that information typically goes into an analytics platform, whether it's QRadar or Splunk or something like that as a SIM, and that's what security products do. They sift through that. You're trying to look for different security insights. The challenge with a lot of application vulnerabilities, you don't know what is actually being used or not. You don't know how vulnerable a piece of code is or not. You don't know what the patching strategy or anything in terms of the DevOps cycle around that piece of code. Nothing that you're collecting is really giving you direction as to where you need to go looking. Now, there's two types of aspects to this. The first one is posture. So that's more like proactive analysis. So where Intelligence Cloud helps is that you can identify very quickly where you have not patched for security issues. So that a very good example would be, there are many people that still have log4j sitting in their environment. They just don't know where it is. And the scanning products aren't finding it, right? So we can find that almost instantly with Intelligence Cloud. But also on the flip side of maintaining much better posture is what you do with an incident, right? If you have a breach and that was caused by some network vulnerability that ultimately led to an application vulnerability, you don't necessarily know where that is unless you can triage. And again, this is another aspect of the intelligence that we provide. We're not necessarily doing the job of incident reporting technology or incident management technology from security, but what we are doing is providing the intelligence. So you can either use the tool sets that we have, or you can integrate that data into those types of architectures and then navigate very quickly to what you need to go remediate.
You are also bridging some big gaps when it comes to incident response. I know you are not offering a full incident response solution, but how does Intelligence Cloud enable better visibility and integration with existing tools?
Well, so the point is two answers to this. The first one is we don't do full on security analytics right now yet, right? There's something that we're looking at, of course, but it's got to be driven by sort of customer need and demand as well. So we've already seen a lot of interest in this, largely because by orientating what's actually used against known CVEs, we can improve posture almost immediately. And it's finding the needle in the haystack that we're very good at doing. And it's at a very granular level in the Java environment. So another good aspect to focus on in that scenario is the fact that we analyze what code's actually in use, not in use, what's dead or unused. So many people believe that they have to protect vulnerable code, but that code's never used, so just get rid of it. It's a liability. So you can just remove and reduce some of your security liability as well as better patching strategy. But in the case where we've got maybe incident or there's more broader security operations, we provide an interface so that you can actually take the telemetry from Intelligence Cloud and you can push it into another product using a REST API. So that allows us to basically, and much like you would do with any other security products, is bring that intelligence together within a single analytics environment if you choose to. So that's available today. It's part of Intelligence Cloud. Both our partners and customers that have more specific solutions in their security operations center can actually leverage it that way.
As you rightly pointed out, even dead or unused code can be vulnerability. How does code inventory help organizations identify and eliminate the risk? And what kind of real-world impact have you seen on developer productivity and modernization efforts?
Okay, so I'll try and relate this back to the overall subject, which is the managed service piece of this. So, you know, in all the scenarios that we've been talking about, whether it's code debt and the ability to understand what code is in use, what the licensing obligations that you need to face in terms of support, or the security aspects that relate to your Java code, all of these require resource to interpret the data, right? So that's the real managed service opportunity, that customers don't necessarily want to skill up additional resources to interpret that. So a good example, as you just mentioned, is something we call code inventory, which is it's an additional type of collection that we do on top of licensing data. So as well as just saying, okay, what JVMs are being used, what Java applications are loading, we collect obviously the structure of those Java applications as well. So what components of that Java application, so that's the things like classes and libraries, what are being loaded, or rather what isn't being used as well. So the value in that sense is, you know, if you have a development team that's doing code maintenance, and on average, code maintenance can be anywhere from 16 to about 30% of all of DevOps time. If they're contracting with an external partner to say, can you advise us on what we can do better and drive greater efficiencies? One of their challenges is it's a very manual effort to do that. Using Intelligence Cloud, they can go in and they can analyze what code's dead, what's not used, what's not loaded, what's got security vulnerability. And if it can be eliminated, or it can be very effectively improved, you can drive efficiency very quickly. And a good example, we just literally at Azul had a very big customer of ours that just invested in Intelligence Cloud that had over 1,000 developers. And we identified that they were wasting time, almost to the tune of about 30 developers a year's worth of time, maintaining code that would never be used, ever. Over the last 10 years, it hadn't been used at all. It had security vulnerability. It wasn't being used. So just by eliminating aspects of that and continually building Intelligence Cloud into their development cycle, it created a large degree of efficiency. Now, that's a very specific use case that for managed service partners, they would have to be delivering sort of code maintenance services to their customers to really to drive that level of efficiency above and beyond the development teams that those customers are using themselves. In the other two scenarios around things like license management and security, it's sort of a no-brainer. I mean, most of the time, organizations aren't skilled up to do that themselves, so they rely on partner communities, managed services to offer that advice.
I'm also curious, how hands-on is the Azul team when it comes to onboarding and enabling MSPs? Are you just providing tooling solutions, or you actually actively support partners in implementing and delivering these services?
So I think you probably know from other conversations, so we pride ourselves on customer excellence and customer success. That's no different in the MSP world. We have a very specific provisioning process that spins up instances that partners can use for their customers. It's part of our MSP model with regular monthly reporting, things like that, as well as decommissioning. So we do operate more of a dedicated model, but just because of things like DORA or GDPR or particular boundaries around data use. We're not trying to commingle Java data with it in any other between customers. It's dedicated that we provide per partner for their customer. So, but it's a very specific process that's fully supported, and we pride ourselves on the excellence around that enablement and provisioning for that. I would like to add a couple of things as well. We've invested very heavily in certainly the first part of this calendar year on brand new training for all types of partners, but that includes our MSP partners as well, so that they get to understand how truly to leverage this through professional online training. Very different to the type of thing that normally comes out of a tech company, which is a lot of sort of recorded presentations or content. We've built very specific learning management segments to improve their ability to get up to speed quickly.
And in that context, since you're offering this as a white label solution powered by Azul, what does that mean for partners in terms of branding, customer ownership, and revenue generation?
Well, there's a couple, 2 or 3 different models in the MSP world, right? The way you can operate, but white labeling is very specifically, that's basically shielding the customer from really understanding if Azul is being used in the background or not. So what we do provide to our MSP partners is the ability to white label. They're effectively our customer, and they are then using that technology for their customers, but the customer's not accessing it themselves. The partner is, and then they're providing the intelligence, the interpretation back to those customers. By white labeling, we mean that effectively the customer's branding the delivery of that information as their own, right? As opposed to Azul. All that we ask is ideally if they can just powered by Azul somewhere, just to show that it's actually that our intelligence platform on the back end that's sort of like delivering that data set. But of course, it's a bit like if you have a car and you're driving down the road and you're trying to understand where you're going and the direction you're going in, there's so much data coming in here, right? And that intelligence, that's coming into your car can be blasted around into different environments that are analyzing it depending on how connected that vehicle is in the world. Those solutions might use that data in different ways and analyze it, but of course the way that's delivered back to customers is usually a very unique type of approach that is owned either by the car manufacturer or something else. It's a very similar model within the Java world. We're creating all of that intelligence in our environment, but we're giving the partners the opportunity to interpret that and provide the right type of approach and delivery to their customers. So a good example is I've got customers right now that are doing security posture reports monthly, some of them weekly. They're doing compliance and audit reports monthly and sometimes weekly if a customer's concerned that maybe Oracle Java might creep back into their environment. We call that Oracle Defense. But Intelligence Cloud almost alerts that within a few minutes of someone actually using an Oracle instance when they're not supposed to be. We can say, hang on a minute, you just downloaded that, it's running, you need to stop doing that, and you need to go to whatever the strategy is from your licensing toolset and decommission that because you're out of compliance in that moment. That type of intelligence delivered by that partner as a managed service is gold in terms of their ability to drive value to their customers.
Before we wrap, you touched on something important. For MSPs who are just getting into this space and don't already have a Java advisory practice, what kind of conversation should they be having with customers?
As you start to get into this space, a lot of things come up as to, how would an MSP go and have a conversation, maybe if they're new to this space? To a large degree, a lot of our approach has been to support people that already have Java advisory practices are already delivering security posture reporting and things like that. But what happens if you're new, right? How do you go and start that conversation? Well, it's no different really, but those partners would have conversations like, what type of decision making are you trying to do make from a Java licensing perspective when they're talking to their customers? How do you know what's actually being used versus installed? I mean, for example, I probably have 3 versions of Java installed on my laptop. I'm only using one of them, right? So I could actually get rid of the other 2, and they're not really causing me a compliance obligation, right? Can you analyze how efficient your development teams are? Do you know whether they're maintaining code that's actually never used because you've been using Java for 25 years? How do you know that, right? And also the big one I think is that catches a lot of people out is, do you actively manage your Java environment from a security point of view? Are you patching? Do you know where your vulnerabilities are? Are you able to get to that better posture position? And it's those types of conversations that managed service partners are having or need to have. But when they do that, those customers realize that they could actually get better service from those partners and wrap it up in some sort of delivery that can be powered by Intelligence Cloud. So that's the real true opportunity for new partners as well.
Simon, thank you again for walking us through it. It's great to hear how Java is making it easier for MSPs to turn Java complexity into a real growth opportunity. And I look forward to our next conversation. Thank you. This discussion makes it very, very clear that MSPs don't need to be Java expert to start offering value. With the right tools and right partner, you can lead smarter conversations around licensing, code modernization, and security posture right out of the gate. Thanks for watching. If you are a managed service provider doing something interesting in this space, we'd love to hear your story. We'd love to feature your story. So please don't hesitate in reaching out to our teams, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.